joining another episode of How I Met Mohanji. My name is Lori. Before we start, I would like to offer my sincere gratitude to Mohanji, the consciousness of Mohanji, the Guru Tattva, all of the great masters, Shirdi Sai Baba, Babaji, all of the masters of the Guru Tattva, Divine Mother, Lord Hanumanji, Lord Ganesha. And I surrender this session at the lotus feet of Mohanji. I came across Mohanji later in my life. I can't say that I was on any sort of spiritual path per se, other than the spiritual path of my own heart and intuition and kindness and love that I was choosing to express in my life. At the time that I was introduced to Mohanji, I had been through a series of events that left me completely hopeless and really at the bottom of all the experiences of my life. Pretty much led up to that point, and I feel like that was pretty much the bottom for me. Although I had been through, prior to that, a long period of depressions and giving up due to certain reasons, just walking out of a career, just a general short background on me. I just one day just decided just to step out of a career that I had been involved with for over 35 years, I would say, in the field of dance and entertainment. And theater was the last arena that I was working in. And I guess I didn't realize, but I had come to that point where a lot of devotees speak of that, and even Mohanji, I think, spoke of that in his own life about there's got to be something else. There's got to be something else other than, for me, it was like one more show. I just stepped out. There was a series of events that happened due to my career. I was afforded the opportunity to travel a lot in my youth and my early adulthood. And one of the places that I did go to India in 1996 for work briefly. At the time it was Bombay, and I had an experience that what I'm identifying now as being sort of like a mark, a demarcation of that maybe started my spiritual journey, or started awakening certain things within me that really started turning my interest in that direction. And we went out to this island called Ellora Island, Elephant Island. Sorry, Ellora is different. I think Ellora, a cave somewhere, but it was called Elephant Island. And it was like maybe an hour or an hour and a half by boat from Bombay. And what a beautiful island. It was what a hot, beautiful day. I just remember everything just was being so saturated. Nature was just so beautiful and saturated there. And I climbed the enclave of steps made of stone, and at the top of the stairs are, I think, a series of these enormous caves where there are depictions of Lord Shiva as Nataraja in his Lord of the Dance form, and depictions of Parvati, Mother, etc. And I had no idea about anything at that point. But it really somehow soaked into me. And the reason why I bring it up is because I had an experience when I went back to the the five-star hotel we were staying in, amidst all of the poverty that you see out in the exterior landscape there, and the dichotomy, the duality that's so palpable there, that it really allows you to really sort of wake up a little bit, and along with awakening your compassion and trying to understand what it is that you were seeing, being so foreign to me at the time. And went back into the hotel, and we were sitting down to eat. And when I was looking around in the amongst the tables and the chairs and the people, I remember the air started moving, like glitches, like it's almost like that movie they describe, The Matrix. And I was, at that time, I felt like I was seeing through something, like I was seeing through part of the reality, and that initiated a really deep visceral response from within me, that something so wild was wanting to come out of me. Like I was finding it so hard to sit in that chair. Like there was such a part of me that felt like that it belonged, from the nature which I had just returned from out there at Elephant Island. I just remember feeling so intensely and so viscerally that I didn't belong here. I didn't belong in this reality that I was seeing. I belonged out there in that nature that I had experienced, that was still so saturated within me. And so, like I said, I think that I absorbed that into my being a kinesthetic person as a dancer. I think I absorbed that into my being. And so when I got back to my city life in New York and all of that, spiritual books started falling off the shelf. Spiritual books, philosophical books, that were all connected to spiritual and nature, and mainly all the different religions of all the world. And I was engrossed. There was some part of me that knew these things, that I was reading. I can't say that I was reading with my mundane, with my mind, but there was something. Something in me was searching for something. And what I finally sort of came to a conclusion of that time, of that searching, was the thread that I noticed that went, that ran between all of these books, these spiritual, philosophical books. There just seemed to be a common thread. And so, that being said, back to when I first was introduced to Mohanji, leading up to that, I stepped out of a very long career, as I was speaking about, and I just did really mundane jobs. It's like somehow some part of me was trying to crush my ego and trying to get me back to some sort of reality that I was able to escape from, honestly, in my career. And so I was trying to, I was trying to sort of get that equanimity, from being really highly developed in one area of my life and virtually dormant in many others. I was trying to start that process of walking my own path. And I went to therapy, and tried a lot of things, but I just felt like nobody was speaking my language. Just felt like I was completely 180 from everybody else, from what I experienced, because I was coming from such a sense of emotional, kinesthetic experience where that I knew these things. I knew all of these things in a part of myself, and yet I really didn't know anything. And so I had to start from scratch, from the beginning. And it was at that time that I went home and found that my mother had been diagnosed, or was just at that time being diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so the person that was so connected to me through dance, being my teacher, being raised in a dance studio, being me, pretty much. I kind of grew up fulfilling someone else's dream and never really had a chance to know who I was. And so as she started to slowly disappear, and so one by one, I had just experiences of, you know, being really alienated from family, and being withheld from, you know, really being with my mom in the end, and you know, a lot, one thing after the next, I'll say. And then with a short stint of me coming to Sedona on the off chance of just after my mother had passed, actually, at the end of 2014. I think that I was so desperate to find something. And later in life, because I hadn't had personal relationships, I went through a series of 2 relationships that failed miserably, and which coincidentally ended up with me going back to Atlanta simultaneously with my father having a heart attack, and me being there and taking care of him. So with all of the sequential events there, there was just a lot of turmoil and unfinished, I guess you could say, karmas, unfinished emotions, unfinished all kinds of things with my family and myself, and it was just, it was really the lowest point in my life. And at that time, I just, out of the blue, I think just out of just sheer grace, somehow I picked up the phone and called somebody that I didn't even know that lived in Sedona for help. And because I knew that I really needed some help at that moment. And in that conversation, they suggested that I take a look at Mohanji, that they had recently been in touch with a master, and I didn't know anything about masters at that time, or anything. And other than the living energy from me from 1996, from that short visit. So I started, they said, just take a look at the pictures, take a look at at Mohanji's eyes, and see if it resonates with you, if you know, if he resonates with you and you resonate with him. And I don't remember exactly, I was trying to look at all of the pictures, but it was when I really started looking at the YouTube videos and all of that, and reading the blogs especially. My first impressions were that it was the most, listening to him speak in satsang, he was the most sane person, being that I had ever heard speak. Of course now, you know, of course, but you know, at the time, and as I started to read the blogs, I just started to throw myself down in surrender and frustration without even knowing what I was doing, because of the unmistakable energy, grace, the tattva, the Guru tattva that was coming through, and Mohanji's his own consciousness that was coming through, and all of the pictures and depictions of all of the other different masters that he was in contact with and had experiences with. I knew that I had come in contact with God for the first time. And I knew when I saw pictures of Shirdi Sai Baba and Babaji, I don't know, something so familiar. It's like when I first saw Babaji, I didn't know. It's like I thought that that he looked like a family member. So unbeknownst to me, the masters will somehow find a way to call, and that was my first introduction. And like I've heard so many people, I thought I was alone in this, but I obsessively and shamelessly was just absorbing all of the YouTube videos, all of the blogs, and all of the experiences and the retreats that everyone was on. I was just following them and journeying along with them. And there came a point in time where a few months had passed, and I saw within a one week time span, Mohanji was, there were videos promoting probably Kailash or some retreat, but they were, the visual images were Kailash, Bosnian pyramids, Sedona, and like 3 times I'd seen videos like that. They were being coupled together and depicted together. And after a long experience of just utter despair back in Georgia, and still trying to look for a job there and a place to live, being in a park one day, I just having that moment to just relax and get away for a moment. It hit me like a bolt out of the blue, like a lightning bolt. I just shot up, sat up, and said, I'm going back to Sedona. And within 1 week's time, I was driving back out here. And it was the first time, I think, that I had come out here for me, not for a job, not for a relationship, not for connection to any other being, but just for me. And it was completely different. My experience was completely different. Everyone was so welcoming. I immediately connected with some of the Mohanji family, which they had circles already going of meditation regularly, and found a place to stay and a job, and so everything was really flowing, and I was extremely grateful, and divinely orchestrated, which I've come to know that such is the grace and the blessings of Mohanji and the Guru Tattva. And all it took was me taking a step off that cliff to just drive back out here to Sedona. And so, shortly after that, maybe like 2 or 3 months, there was a retreat happening in Virginia, which I signed up for and was able to go. And there was a big group of everyone from Sedona that went, and I really didn't know what to expect. I think that I was completely still in illusion and disillusioned. seeing maybe Mohanji as a person, or not really a person, but maybe a being. Um, and I think that maybe because all of the people that I was around in Sedona were just so much more experienced than me, and I just think that I didn't really feel prepared to go for where I was at the time. And even though I'm, intuitive and can sort of assimilate and kind of go along with people that have been in the spiritual world for a long time, there's still that underdeveloped part of me that's really, struggling along. So, like I said, to get that alignment, to get that equanimity. And so, right before I went to Virginia. I had a dream, probably like early in the morning before I woke up, where, and I haven't shared this with many people, I had a dream that I saw Mohanji in the distance, and like a nature setting. It was kind of like a rustic setting, and he was like a far away, and I could see that there was like a fire burning. And I started. I was so like elated. I started to walk to him, and so what I noticed is that something off to the left of him that was like just blowing in the breeze. And as I got closer, what I saw was it was hair. It was myself. I had really long hair at that time when I went to Virginia, and what I saw just draped over, kind of like a little banister thing, was basically my skin suit. It was a perfect, replica of me without all of the insides, just the skin and the hair, and it was just completely flat and limp and hanging over the side of that, and the hair just blowing in the breeze. And I had no idea about what homas were at the time, but we did have a spectacular homa in Virginia that I think even a few other devotees have spoken about. So I guess that if I would have really paid attention to that image, it was kind of like it was preparing me for something that that meeting the masters may not always be like what you think it is, or it's never that. It's always so much deeper and more profound. And from my limited experience so far, and I remember just going through the first few days of satsangs and feeling really not connected, and really just so hyper aware of myself. All of my stuff was coming up, and I didn't know anything about that either. That's what happens in the presence of the masters. I guess it's all preordained, predestined, but that's what was happening to me at the time, and I just felt like a fish out of water. Like I wasn't getting it, and it was finally when I broke down one evening after one of the satsangs. I went up to Mohanji and I was just in tears. I was sobbing like a little child, and I just couldn't even speak. And I was just letting him know that, the experience that I was having. I said, my mind is so weak, is what I said to him. And he looked at me, and it was so interesting. Because what he looked at me and he said was, "You are not weak." And what was interesting is that it's it's almost like my mother, something my mother would say to me. So it was just such a great blessing, because it broke the ice for me, and allowed for a beautiful experience to happen. That perfectly describes my first meeting with Mohanji in person. I had gone down to the lower level after the satsang was over and everyone was dispersing, and I had gone to the restroom, and I was coming back, and as I was coming back down the hall, Mohanji had made his way down also, and as I was walking straight this way, he was walking straight towards me, and they curved around and went into the alcove, and they were going into another room, and what happened was that it just, I don't even know how this happened, but just as I was passing, it was like something just averted me, and I went right to Mohanji and right into his arms. It was like as if I was being carried by the wind. I just, so like two really strong magnets just just came into each other, and he just held me, and they were. I don't even know how long this embrace lasted, but I do know that several times, maybe 2 or 3 times, I tried to initiate. You know how when you start to initiate, letting go, and what happened is that he just stayed there. He just stayed there in this embrace with me, and in that moment, I just, I didn't know anything about transfer of energy or anything like that at that time, but what I got was what love is, what real love feels like. And I've said this to many people, I felt like I was fathered in that moment. It was just a moment in time and space that just was so beautiful. And I think that because of that, I really was able to relax into in the program, and really start my journey, and or start the journey back to that same place with Mohanji, in consciousness and myself, and so it's really an image that I haven't thought about in a while, honestly, but it feels like this time that was 2018, summer of 2018, and now being the summer of 2020, it's almost like a complete one revolution of a circle. It feels like for me, and I'm so thankful and so grateful to be able to share these experiences. Thank you so much to the USA platform for allowing me to do so, and Mohanji and the Guru Tattva, Daniji, and all of the devotees who have led by such a great example for me to follow, and I'm so grateful. So I guess the completion of that that first retreat, first and only retreat, it's actually the only retreat that I've attended in meeting Mohanji in person. We had such great experiences with Mohanji in the water, and it was so clear, that I was starting to have flashes of masters. You know, I was joking before I went to see Mohanji in Virginia. Uh, People were asking me where I was going, and I was explaining I was going to see Mohanji, and I was saying he's kind of like Jesus. And there are definite moments that, especially in the water there, that I had that experience. You know, I can't say that it was a real, definite experience, but definitely feelings of recognition and knowingness and familiarity, and which for some reason, I guess this happens for everyone in the Master's presence, which I also didn't know. But the other thing that I really gained so much from that first meeting with experience of Mohanji and the retreat, etc., was for a long time I had been expressing that I wanted to become real. For some reason, you know, I had in my life, you know, at such a young age, experiencing really traumatic events and being out of my body and in shock and you know, basically doing things to please others and survive. I don't think that I was ever myself, and I really identified with the whole Pinocchio thing, that I just didn't feel real because I was so unreal and could feel everybody else that I was just trying to please others. And I didn't understand that I couldn't do that until I was actually fully in myself. And that is what the journey has been for me and still is. I am working on that acceptance, accepting myself and fully embodying and becoming, just as so many other people have expressed. But to me, it was a more heightened experience. But for the first time, being in Virginia and that element, in the elements in nature. In the presence of the Master and the Guru Tattva, and all of the animals, etc. I had the experience of what it felt like to be real, to be a human, and you know, I can't describe, you know, what the experience was before inside of my being and what the experience was after or during that time. But all I know is that everything that I had perceived in myself as being real was not, and I was experiencing that for the first time, of what it feels like to be human and what it feels like to be real human. And so I guess that was, you know, sort of like the direction of my journey. And a beautiful thing happened at the very end of the retreat. Just as it was always, it was finishing and Mohanji was exiting, and they started to play this beautiful Krishna, I don't know the name of it, but it's a really strong, powerful piece. We were in this beautiful circular satsang room with windows 360 all the way around, and as he was leaving and the music started playing, we all started to move and dance. And what happened is that it started to rain. It started to like pour rain. It was such a beautiful moment that I felt I was just picked up off my feet, and I danced. I danced for the first time in a really long time, and it such a exhilarating and beautiful meeting of Mohanji and myself and others and my humanness, all together at the same time. And so, what a wonderful experience. I'm so grateful. And coming back to Sedona at that time, I continued my journey, and the next time that an opportunity came up to participate in something was not with actually Mohanji, it was with Deviji. I saw the advertisement of Deviji was doing a one-day program of the consciousness dancing in Toronto at the Datta Tapavan Ashram, and I was so I was so moved, inexplicably, like as if I was on a skateboard going very fast downhill. I didn't stop until I had a ticket to Toronto, and so I went to attend that, and the Datta Tapavan Ashram is just run by such beautiful bhaktas of Mohanji and Shri Sai Baba and all of the masters, and what a great privilege and honor it was to meet all of them briefly for that short period of time. Excuse me, and to participate in consciousness dancing. When I arrived so embarrassingly early to the ashram because I was staying at an Airbnb, whom they lovingly offered to give me a ride. And so when I was at the ashram in November of 2018, standing outside, I saw the beautiful Lord Dattatreya Murti outside of the ashram. At that time it was not enclosed, and I went and brought the flowers that I had brought to pass around to the different, and as I was laying the flowers and prostrating at this beautiful Murti, someone must have seen me because from inside the ashram, because I heard hello, hello, and so I had to confess that I was there embarrassingly early for the event, and they lovingly escorted me around to the sanctorum. I don't know if that's what it's technically called, but the room where the giant Murti of Shri Sai Baba and Lord Ganesha and all of the beautiful lifelike depictions of Mohanji, etc., are contained and worshipped. And so I was escorted into the sanctorum, and I was allowed to wait there for a few hours. And I knew very little about Shri Sai Baba at that time. But that waiting period, first my mind was just going all over like the drunk monkey stung by the scorpion, and then slowly over time I just started speaking and expressing my gratitude and surrendering. And it just reminds me so much of that beautiful video of Mohanji on the beautiful channel, the Sai Devotee Speaks, when he talks about all of the beautiful videos that he's got about Shri Sai Baba and his experiences with him. And I think in one of them he was talking about how the master brings you, and that's kind of like what I felt about that moment. It was just sometimes you don't understand things or until much later, but everything is significant, and it really allowed me to delve more into reading and understanding more about Shirdi Sai Baba and all of the incarnations of Lord Dattatreya, which I have come to just love and embrace so much, along with Mohanji, as they're all one. And so Devi arrived. She was there, I think, for a beautiful presentation in Toronto. I don't know if the word is correct, but the World Parliament Congress event that they have there, and she was doing a presentation and then came after and was doing the consciousness dancing. And so that was my first experience of consciousness dancing. And wow. Something struck me really deep inside that. It was I was finally allowed to just to let go and dance without form, to dance without any preconceived ideas, just to move and to experience that, which is basically pretty much one of the main reasons why I left the field of dance. I really just wanted to experience movement for movement's sake, and I hadn't reached that point yet. And Deviji reintroduced me to dance through consciousness dancing, and through the grace and the blessings of Mohanji and Deviji and all of the masters present and all of the beautiful bhaktas, devotees, ashramites of the beautiful Dattatapovan ashram, I experienced what bhakti really is, and feel like I found another piece of my path, and so little by little, I was just by taking another step off that cliff to go to Toronto for one day to participate. It was such a great blessing. And so then, shortly after that, in the summer of 2019, I heard through the grapevine that Mohanji was coming to the Dattatapovan ashram in Canada to do an event there, and no one knew what was happening, and I wanted to try to attend. But then I found out it was only for people that were being initiated into Kriya. And at that point, I knew really nothing about Kriya, and I certainly didn't think that I was eligible to be initiated at that time. But I did. I took another step off the cliff just because I really wanted to make use of Mohanji's presence on this side of the planet, and I got accepted. And all I can say about that is, just like the experience with Shirdi Sai Baba, it's just another gift from the masters that I somehow have gained eligibility from other lifetimes, and a gift that I can grow into, and accepted it as that. And so I went back out to Canada and to see all my friends that I had seen the time before. And this time I kind of knew what I was doing. It didn't take 5 buses and a train to get 20 miles from the airport. It happened a lot easier this time. And I had a specific thing in mind, only that I just wanted to go for a short period of time, and I wanted to try to experience Mohanji without all of the connection to all of the groups, etc. Because I felt like I just for not for anything that I wanted or was desiring, but I felt like that in order for me to kind of move forward, that I needed to have that experience of just going and doing this on my own. And that's kind of like what those two journeys to Canada were about for me. Sort of like stepping away from the pack, the herd, and just sort of journeying on my own. And so I didn't consciously have that in mind, but that's what I did, and I think that that's the reason why I did it. And what happened as a result was unbelievable amount of grace. I was able to attend the morning artis because of staying with one of the ashramites early in the morning at 4:30 for Shirdi Sai Baba, and just being there, just being in the presence in the lower levels of the ashram of Mohanji. It was just it was so fulfilling for me. And at one point, one of the people that sponsored the ashram there said that it was my turn, that I could go up and speak with Mohanji. And I was just like, what? Yeah, I didn't have any reference for speaking one-on-one with the person called Mohanji. It was just never in my mind. I don't really think that I had the mind at that point, or enough experience on any path to have the questions burning to really allow me to be eligible for that kind of experience. And so I went upstairs, and like a dog that just can't get traction on a slippery floor, I was slipping and sliding all over the floor in frustrations and sobbing in tears. And such was me at that time. You know, that something so deep inside was so immensely grateful for this opportunity, that that's how it was showing itself. And I couldn't even sit on the couch. I couldn't get. I kept going back down to the floor. And so I didn't really have any questions at that time. I just sat in silence with Mohanji, and he started speaking. And probably another set of experiences that I will eventually grow into, because that being over a year ago now, I'm just starting to comprehend some of the things that he was saying, and without any sort of like misinterpretation or response, or should I say reaction to what he was saying. And he was so gracious and so elegant and so patient and compassionate, that he would spend that time with me and bother to express, you know, the following. I'll share a few things. He was talking to me about a movie that he had seen recently with his daughter, and Flashdance, and he was talking about some of the scenes in that, and he was talking about dance, and you know, all I could think in my mind at that moment was, oh my God, here is, at that time, what I felt to be, for me, Lord Shiva incarnate, and talking to me about dance. And he was describing a certain experience that I know that I had certain periods in my life, performing on stage, etc., when I was in the performing side of dance. And he was describing the moment where the dancer becomes the dance. And, you know, I know that experience. I know that experience inside, and I think that Mohanji could see that in me. And he started explaining the philosophy of what that means and what's actually happening in that process. And wow, I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around that, and something to step forward to and into, and so like that, he laid out certain things that I could possibly do in my life as service in the future, and with immense gratitude, I was surrounded by many other people at that time, and then it became about a group experience, and wow, it was just it was such a once in lifetimes opportunity to have that second moment, that second meeting with Mohanji, and then briefly another meeting that happened right after that was just so unexpected also that I think that he knew that that I was at the ashram at 4:30 in the morning attending the aartis, and someone came downstairs and said that Mohanji wanted to see me, and I went up, and right when I opened the door, I was shocked because his back was right there at the door, sitting down at the breakfast table with another person that I know, having breakfast. And immediately again, I was just on the floor, being so surprised. My body was just—it's so funny. It's like my body has its own reactions to Mohanji, viscerally, very interesting. And he invited me to breakfast, and I was like, oh, no. And he started to speak, and immediately I realized and retorted and agreed, and sat down, and you know, it was just such a, you know, the experience of eating with others is such a comforting and life-affirming exercise and experience, and that was just, it was, I couldn't believe the generosity and the humility in which someone of his stature extended to someone like me, and I'm so grateful for that, those moments. Thank you, Mohanji. So then, with the grace of Mohanji and the Guru Tattva, I was initiated into Kriya, and started on yet another piece of the journey that has been unfolding since coming to know Mohanji. And I can say this, that my experience of practicing Kriya after many injuries from a lifetime of intense physical impact and back surgery at the age of 24, etc. It's only through Kriya, that I feel like that all of the blockages are being released, and my spine is slowly but surely healing, and yet another thing to be so grateful for. And so slowly but surely, with all of these experiences, I was surely with Mohanji, and Mohanji was with me. As he says, he's always with us. But I just, it was only this last time that I met with Mohanji and had the privilege and honor to go to India for the traditional Himalayan School of Traditional Yoga teacher training experience and certification. That I finally am starting to feel connected, starting to feel connected with the consciousness that is that's Mohanji. I can't delineate it and pick it out. It was very rich and very palpable for me when I was in India, and now that I've been back for a month or so, it's I'm realizing, now another journey begins. But this last experience of signing up and applying for the yoga, the training, was another personal step towards myself and to Mohanji through yoga. And I had experienced yoga many years ago through Dharma Mitra in New York, and briefly, but not long enough to really get the essence and what yoga really is about, and so it was just such a great honor. I unfortunately, I selfishly went for my own experience. I hopefully, with the grace and the blessings and due diligence and effort, through all of my many physical challenges, I'll arrive there at being able to demonstrate the physical aspect of yoga. But until then, another experience for me to grow into, and to have all of these great tools that I've been given to really put all together, and like Deviji has expressed to me, to consolidate myself, to bring myself in, and really follow the teachings that Mohanji has so recently and always expressed, but recently it just hit home so much for me. All of the expressions of that he has put out since the COVID-19 on video and podcast, etc. They've really inspired the element of me that was just sort of kind of dead and buried and given up so many times that I just wasn't able to revive, and through going to the yoga training in Bangalore and having the unique experience of being there with so many other devotees of Mohanji and several acharyas and the instructors of the Himalayan School Traditional Yoga, all handpicked by Mohanji. It was just such a complete experience. Not only the yoga training, but then what happened after, that we were all sort of kind of stuck there for a while, and I guess that's one way of interpreting it. My way of interpreting it is another gift, the greatest gift that I've ever been able to receive, and I don't even know from where the eligibility has come to receive this. But being the only person from the U.S. and international travel just not happening, I was just graced to just be there and be in India again, and in a very isolated place, but still, you know, the energy of India is just, it's so different, and it's so special and alive, and not only that, but to have the grace and the blessings of the masters and Guruji there with us in the form of this photograph. This photograph was the one that was there for us all during our yoga training, which I was gifted with to bring back here. So, you know, I just can't even believe the extent that that the masters would go to help someone find themselves, to step back into themselves, and to say, accept yourself, you know, however many times it takes. And for that, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to Mohanji for his patience with me, for extending such love and compassion. I know that at some point the Shiva is going to light me on fire and really start to burn. But you know, I'm in all the way to the end. You know, it's what my soul was yearning for so long, and it's just I couldn't get that answer, that experience, that breakdown of what it was. You know, there's so many experiences that you think you're being spiritual, and it's just really not the case. And for me, it just wasn't the case. And so, briefly, we did meet with Mohanji in Bangalore. Briefly, I was prostrating right before our yoga session one day, I remember, and I was praying to Mohanji to increase my faith, to deepen my faith, so that I could be more deeply connected with the consciousness and really start to integrate through this yoga training. And as I was rising up, I looked to my left, and I was on the side by a window, and I see Mohanji passing by with a few people. He had come to visit, of course, all of his loving and beautiful devotees that I had the grace and privilege and honor to be there with from all over the world. And you know, the visit was very fruitful, very short. We all had, you know, our photographs taken with Mohanji, and briefly after that, we were afforded, due to the longing of a few devotees that wanted to go and visit him, we got the opportunity, those that wanted to go, to visit him at his ashram a few hours away in Bangalore, to go and visit. And you know, yet another meeting. Even though I've been so insistent on pursuing, my soul's been so insistent on pursuing that, but I've been so shy when I actually come face to face with meeting Mohanji. And so I was hiding pretty much amongst the group, sitting on the floor up against the wall, and he was expressing how he was really encouraging all of us to really intermingle and to break through barriers, even and boundaries, even through something as simple as roommate situations, to really intermingle and really use that opportunity, every moment of it. And along those lines, he was saying, this is your chance, is what he was saying. And I remember him sort of looking at me I was just trying to be invisible up against the wall, but he found me with those eyes, and he said, now's your chance. And I knew what that meant. I knew that that I was crawling along at a turtle's pace, and that I just, I wasn't really accepting. I wasn't really looking at, or wasn't able to see my patterns yet. I wasn't really, even though I had been doing my Kriya practice every day, I had given up my apartment for a few months so that I could go to the training, and I couldn't do it in that circumstance. And so, what he was saying is that, now's your chance. And I really, really, really took that to heart. I took it so seriously. And then after that, when the COVID experience came upon us, and we were at the Fireflies beautiful ashram in Bangalore. All the beautiful people there, thank you. We finally got the opportunity to, amongst all the duties that some of the acharyas and the more experienced devotees that were there, they still found time to, we created schedules. It was all just beautifully scheduled. It was just such a beautiful, beautiful experience of an extra month with pretty much almost everyone, except for a few people that did have the opportunity to leave early. And we did take advantage of it. I was able to see and experience what it's like to go through the processes in group form, like they do in retreat, of the meditations and some of the other processes, etc. We even did consciousness dancing. One of the devotees, the newly fledged acharyas, was practicing. So it was such a beautiful experience that they all got a chance to practice their skills at giving the programs, etc. And we, who had not experienced that before, got a chance to. It was just a beautiful thing. And even though WG was not there, Mohanji was not there, but the consciousness was, the masters were. It was probably like the most intense experience, a spiritual experience that I've had after that session, or during that session, should I say, of consciousness dancing, and really brought me to yet another level of. I can honestly say that I experienced something. I don't know what to call it, but I was in what maybe they call bliss. The whole rest of the next day, etc. And what an honor it was to be there, and to eat and to cook and to do all of the activities, and to see all of the goings on of what all of the other devotees do, and how they participate and what they contribute along whatever level they've been on, and got a chance to see what that looks like up close, and it was so fulfilling, because I really got an understanding, I think. And not only that, all of the beautiful expressions of all of the acharyas from that point on, once all of my beautiful Serbian brother and sisters went back home, here came the parade of acharyas online, with their beautiful transformations. So it was just, it was basically the summer school of lifetimes for me. And I just soaked in every moment of it. And took the opportunity to really deepen my sadhana, and try to go within, to try a few new processes, and take a step towards the Maitri process for myself. And I was just there, and unbeknownst to me, with the intention of selfishly going there for myself, that's exactly, what I got. It was what I consider to be a Leela. And I just completely blocked everything out that was going on in the world and just took that golden opportunity, as Mohanji says, that golden opportunity of lifetimes, because only He knows, only God knows how many lifetimes it took to accrue that eligibility to have that experience. And I just soaked up every moment of it. And didn't want to go, but did when I had the opportunity. Jay Mohanji, sorry about that. The phone knows when the session should stop. So I'll just conclude by saying I have made it safely due to the grace of Mohanji and the Masters back to Sedona now, and with a time span of being in India with a small group of people. I finally have brought all of the processes back and am working towards consolidating all of it so that all of that selfishness can turn into selflessness, and I can step out into my local community here and start to serve in whatever way I possibly can. So thanks so much to all of the Mohanji Acharyas and all of the other people there that are not, for being so inspiring. You've inspired me greatly to take the next step forward in my life. Deviji, thank you so much. Thank you for everything. To all of the Acharyas and all of the people that have worked so diligently and put all of the things online in the last 3-4 months, we are all so grateful. Thank you so much. To Mohanji and the Masters, the Guru Tattva, eternal thanks and gratitude. As always, I surrender everything at your feet. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. And thank you to USA Platform and to Mohanji for giving me the opportunity to share. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.